Good evening, dear students. Could you hear me? Can someone respond to me? Unmute yourself and respond to me. Anyone in the participants? Jay Prakash or...
Yes, ma'am. You're audible, ma'am. Please continue.
Oh, thank you.
అఖిల్ బయటకు వెళ్ళిపోతుంటే ఆనంద్ వర్మ ఆపి అడిగే ప్రయత్నం చేస్తాడు. నాకు పనుండి బయట.
Hello. Yeah. So good afternoon once again for all of you. So I'm very happy to start our today's class. Today's class in our union administration, we are going to discuss about in the block 2. Already we discussed unit 4. In that unit 4, we come to know about the structure and functions of the government organs. Just as like, can somebody tell me what are the organs of the government? How many organs the government has in any country? It's not like a, unitary, federal. It's not like that in any form of government. So we will have 3 organs for every government. That is legislature, executive, and judiciary. We discussed about in the previous classes about these functions of all the organs of the government. Now in this class, we are going to discuss about the executive body in an elaborate manner. So therefore, today I just want to share with you what is an executive body for India. In our country, as most of you know that, because you are all public administration students, in your first year class also, you might have studied administration or public administration is a combination of 2 different officers, that is political officers or political executive and the personal executive or otherwise permanent executive. Okay, so we are going to discuss today about the political executive of our country, how they are running the administration, the governance, how they are carrying on. These things I'm going to talk to you. So in that process, I'm going to start with this one. What is this? Anyone who would see this one, please tell me what is the topic or a PPT that you are watching. This is about the president of as you all know that in India, when we discussed about the executive of various nations, we come to know each country is following various types of executives. So some are hereditary executives, some are legal executives and all. In our country, we follow legal executive. Okay, it's not hereditary basis. That's why we call India as the republic. Means even the highest post, that is the president of India, is open to all. Any citizen can participate in the election to become the president of this nation. That's the reason why we call it as a republic. So therefore, the president of India here in our nation, how we are electing, because it's a open to all. And what are the qualifications, the election procedure, and all I'm going to talk to you. Before that, I just want to tell you the name of the executive, that is, for example, in previous thing I told you, in some nations, we call the head of the country as the president, just like we and USA and many other nations, they call the first, their chief executive as the president. Okay, whereas in countries like Germany and all, they call them as chancellors. Okay, I think we all know about university, we have chancellor, vice chancellors and all. No? In that way, in their nations, countries like in Germany, they call their president as the chancellor. Okay, so but in our country, we are calling him as the president. So, and the president is the constitutional head of our nation, the constitutional head of the union government. And he is considered as the first citizen of our nation. And he symbolizes the unity, integrity of our nation. Though we all, follow different cultures, different languages, and different customs and traditions, but we are all one nation. The unity that is resembles or symbolizes in the post of president. Okay, and president is also known as what we call the constitutional savior. He protects the constitution of our nation. So any government that come into power, they have to follow constitution. And this constitution is protected by the president. He symbolizes the constitution. And moreover, why I said like a president resembles or what says symbolizes unity and integrity means in our country, the president is chosen or elected in an impartial way. He do not belongs to any political party. Maybe before they were elected, they may belong to any parties, but once a person is elected for post of the president of our nation, he is an impartial political executive. Okay, so in our country, the president, because most of our constitutional provisions we have taken from Act 35, Indian Act 35, that's written by British people. So that's why we also follow. Our president is not like a hereditary. In other nation, as I said, like in British, their queen is based on the family, hereditary. Whereas our president is elected. But he is just like a nominal executive like in Britain. He is not a real executive like in US. In US, the president is real executive. All the powers which are given to him by the constitution, he exercises on his own way. He need not to take anybody's, permission or even sometimes advices also, he can take. But whereas in our country, our president is not like that. He is a nominal executive most of the time. But there are some times where our country faces emergency issues. At that time, he has some extraordinary powers during the time of emergencies. Okay, so before we discuss about all his powers and all, I would like to talk to you about the election procedure, because I told you the post of President of India is open to all. Okay, so just like our MPs, MLAs, how we are electing, like that the chief, the first citizen of our country, the president, is also elected. Regarding this, in our constitution, Article 61 speaks like that. It says that the post of the president has to be fulfilled by the time the person who is discharging the duty as the president, before he complete his tenure or the term, another elections for another term, we have to conduct the elections, because in our country it is understood or it became a custom. The same person cannot be elected more than 2 times. One time, okay. The second time also fine, but after second time we don't elect. That's how we are following the custom. So therefore, before the existing president complete his term, we have to conduct the elections to get one more or the same person for the second time, whatever it is. And regarding that, in Article 55, it explains what type of mode or what type of system we have to follow in order to elect the President of India. So according to that, the President of India is elected indirectly by the people. He is not elected directly like our MPs and MLAs or any other post. He is indirectly. But who are they that elects the President of India? Means we call the body as Electoral College. The name of the body that elects the President of India is known as Electoral College. So what is this Electoral College? Electoral College consisting or comprises 2 different bodies. One is all the elected members of parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, elected members, not nominated. Remember this, because in the legislature, you might have understood that in our parliament, we have some are nominated, 12 members in Rajya Sabha, 2 members in Lok Sabha, like that. President appoints, no? Those people won't participate in electing the president. Only the elected members who are elected from various constituencies, they will be choosing the president of India. That is one set of people. Another set is that all the like MLAs of all the states, the elected legislative members of the state assemblies, they are also participate in electing the president of India. This body is known as Electoral College. Hope you all understood who elects the president of India. President of India is elected by Electoral College, which consisting of the elected members of parliament and the elected members of state legislative assemblies of all the states in the country. Okay, they elect. And how they elect? Again, there is one system that is known as single transferable vote system. The method is known as single transferable vote system. We will get it once. At that time, I'll explain in a detailed way what is a single transferable vote system. For example, simply I'll tell you right now, there is so when ballot paper, or let's say when you are EVM, we are using, generally general elections, when we are electing the Lok Sabha members or state assembly members, what do we do? Whichever candidate we like, that particular candidate only, we will press the button. But here in the single transferable vote system, it is not like that. You have to choose preferences. So, for example, 5 members were contested as the president, for the post of president. So you have to vote for the 5, but how? Preferences means who will be your first preference. So if you want me as first preference, for my name, you have to 1, you have to give. And another person 2. Like that, all 5 members you have to give. That, based on that, elections are conducted. It's a secret ballot only. And again, I told you, to like Electoral College, all the Electoral College member votes value will not be same. The MP vote differ from the MLA vote, and the MLA of one state differ from another state MLA, because this is all calculated based on the population that they are representative. Okay, and what are the qualifications to become a president? Just I told you, anybody can contest as the president of India, I said. But what are the qualifications? Minimum qualifications also that we need to have. That is, first of all, he should be the citizen of India. That's a very, very common thing. And he should complete the age of 35 years. Age for the contesting as the president of this nation, he must complete the age of 35 years. And he should have qualifications to become as a member of Lok Sabha. So we have Lok Sabha members. What all the Lok Sabha members in previous classes we discussed, no? So same like he should not be like punished more than 2 years of imprisonment, those kind of things. Okay, and he should not have a profitable office once he take up the office of the MP and all. No, like that here also. Main things what you have to keep in mind is that president post, anybody want to contest means they should complete the age of 35 years. Should be Indian citizen besides the 35 years of age. That is so important. Then another thing is that what are the powers and functions of the president of our country? Though our president, we say that he is a nominal head of the state, but still he has many powers he performs. So let me talk to you. The very first one is executive powers or executive functions. So in our country, administration completely taken on his name. Whatever decision or whatever policy we are taking, everything is on the name of the president. It will be on the name of the president. That's why all the actions of the government in the union government are taken in the name of president. That is one thing. Another one is that he appoints the prime minister and other ministers of our country. So you all know that the prime minister. So prime minister means from a majority party leader in the Lok Sabha. So whomever that majority party suggests, that party leader will be appointed by the president as the prime minister. And when prime minister, when we discuss about prime minister, I'll talk to you about his main characters, or qualifications and other things also I'll talk to you. But first of all, let me speak to you about these things. He appoints the prime minister and the ministers who runs the administration of our union government. And these ministers also, they continue in the office as long as he has pleasure and as long as they have a majority support in the Lok Sabha. Okay. And another one is that not only prime minister and other ministers, he also appoint n number of constitutional heads. We have n number of bodies that are working in order to run the administration. Say, for example, take election commissioners. So India is a democratic nation. We conduct periodical elections in our nation. So to conduct these elections and all in a free and fair manner, we required one a body or a group of people or officers. So that officers, we call them as election commissioners. Today, we have 3-body committee. Election commission is 3-body committee. So these commissioners are appointed by the President of India. Then you all know about the states. In the state, the government is going on. But as a representative of the union government, we will have governor, who is the constitutional head for the state. So for every state, the governors are appointed by the President of India. That is one. Another one is that union territories we have. The lieutenant governors in union territories are also appointed by the President of India with consultation of course, the cabinet and all. Okay, and backward commissions, minority commissions, National Human Rights Commission, and even Finance Commission, Niti Aayog, all these like a child persons. Of course, Niti Aayog means previous years we used to call it as a planning commission. So planning commission chairman automatically the prime minister. Rest of the a deputy chairman and all will be appointed by the President of India. Okay, then those are all known as executive powers. Then President has legislative powers also. What are the legislative powers of the President of India? If you see, he is an integral part of our, yes, just one second. Yeah, he is an integral part of the Parliament of India. So when somebody asks you what is Parliament means, you cannot say simply Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President of India put together is known as Parliament. Means he is also a member of it's a prominent a body in the Parliament. Okay, so as a main person in the Parliament, a legislative head of our nation, what is his role? If you see, he has every right to summon meetings, Parliament meetings. And he also has power to dissolve Lok Sabha before its term. Anyhow, we all know that Parliament, Lok Sabha term of office is 5 years. Before 5 years also, President has power to dissolve it when it it has less support or on the suggestion or advice of the Prime Minister. He can dissolve before 5 years the Lok Sabha also. And no bill will become a law until he give his assent or his consent, his signature. Assent means a signature. So when a bill is introduced in any of the house, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Then once a bill is passed by one house, it will go to another house. And finally, it has to go to the president. So only when he gives the signature, then it will become as a law. Until that time, we call it as a bill. We don't call it as a law. Okay? Only after the signature of the president, we call it as a law. And one more thing is that to give his assent, sometimes he won't give also. If he is not satisfied, even if it is approved by both the houses, if he is not satisfied with the bill, again he can send for the assessment. The Lok Sabha, if it is started in Lok Sabha, he will send to that. If it is sent to Rajya Sabha, he will send. So any place where it has started, he can send back. That is his power of the president. Therefore, he is a part and parcel of legislative of our country, and he has every power. Without his signature, no bill will become as a law. Those are known as, and of course, one more thing, we all know that when we discussed about Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, he appoints prominent members in various fields, 12 prominent members in Rajya Sabha as nominated. He nominates. And so also in Lok Sabha also 2 members from Anglo-Indian community, he appoints. So that is the power he has in the legislative body. And another one is that, apart from this one, is known as judiciary powers. What are the judiciary powers of, here in the PPT, that is not showing, but anyhow, afterwards I will give you. You can check in your notes and all, you will have there. So, judiciary powers. So, President of India is the one who appoints the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, as well as we have 21 high courts. No? For all these high courts, he appoints the Chief Justice, and on the advice of the Chief Justice, he also appoints other judges, mainly Chief Justice he appoints. And he also has a power to give pardons. The punishments given by the courts, he can grant mercy. That is known as granting pardons. Okay, he can excuse them. He can give mercy to the people, especially death sentences and these kind of things. He feels that we can, instead of, he can change it. Instead of a death sentence, he can make it as a lifetime imprisonment, like that. Or if it is a lifetime imprisonment, if he find it's not worth to give, means he can change it. So that power he has. Okay. And financial powers. He also has the financial powers. So what are the financial powers? As I told you, he, without his informing, no money bill should be introduced in the Lok Sabha, because money bills introduced only in Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha do not have those powers. Therefore, all the money bills has to be introduced only after informing to the president. And every year he come and speak to the legislators of the thing. Okay. So those are the finance. And one more, Comptroller and Auditor General auditing system and all, they will submit their reports to the president. Okay, so that is known as financial powers of President of India. These are the main powers of the President of India. Then there are normal days, these powers. And there are some extraordinary powers enjoyed or performed or exercised by the President of India. We call them as emergency powers. These are somewhat differ from Britain. Whereas in the Britain, emergency powers were not there for the president. But here in our country, though we call him as a nominal head of the state in ordinary times, but in the extraordinary, because ours is a quasi-federal. It's not fully federal. It's not fully unitary form of government. So as a strong center we have, no? That's why we call it as a quasi-federation, not completely unitary. So here he enjoys some special powers for the extraordinary. They are known as emergency powers of Indians president. That is 3 different emergency powers he has. One is national emergency. Second one is constitutional emergency. We also call it as a constitutional emergency as presidential rule. And the third one is financial emergency. Okay, third one you are unable to see here. Something went wrong. That's why it is not showing. But anyhow, I will explain to you. So what do you mean by national emergency? National emergency, the President of India has power to declare emergency in the nation during the time of war. If a country involved in the war or war kind of situation arises in the country, or our neighboring nation try to have like an external aggression has taken place. In such kind of situations, President has power to declare national emergency. So far, 3 times national emergency imposed in our country. That is, first time was the Indo-China War. We had a war with the China regarding our boundary issues and all. That is in the year 1962. First time national emergency imposed. Then second time, 1971. That is during the liberation time of Bangladesh. Bangladesh was formed in the year 1972. I hope you all know this about. Whenever I have time, I can explain those things also. But first of all, regarding these things, I want to talk to you. So, President of India has imposed second time the national emergency when our country involved in order to help the Bangladesh, which is a part of Pakistan once upon a time, when they are not happy with the existing government and all. So they asked for our help at that time also, because we are also involving in that thing. So President of India imposed in 1971 national emergency. And the third one is that internal disturbances. In the year 1975, due to internal disturbances at that time, President, on the advice of Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi, in our country, national emergency was imposed. Okay, so during the national emergency time, some of our fundamental rights will be suspended for time being. Okay, that's about the first one, national emergency. Then the second one is presidential rule or constitutional emergency. In our constitution, Article 356 speaks about the constitutional emergency or the presidential rule. So what is this? Why president imposed this kind of emergency? Means this is not for the entire country. This is for any particular state. So when a state government unable to run the administration in their state as per the constitution, then on the written recommendation of the concerned governor of that state, president impose presidential rule. And at that time, CM and the ministers of that state will be dismissed. It comes directly under the control of the center, but during that time, governor takes all the decisions to run the thing. This can be continued for 6 months. More than 6 months, it cannot be. If they wanted to continue, still things do not come in normalcy, then again, with the permission of Lok Sabha, they have to pass the bill. Again, it can continue. So this has been imposed in almost all the states, now and then, not like that. And mainly in Jammu Kashmir, the presidential rule was imposed many, many times. Okay, so that is one of the power of the president when problems are arising in a particular state, government unable to run it as per the constitutional way. Then the third one, financial emergency, that was not shown here in the PPT, but in your books you can see that. I hope most of you have kept your material with you. Then you can refer when I've been explaining to you. So there we can see financial emergency means when the nation facing financial crisis, financial problem, the president can declare financial emergency. Luckily, in our country, till today, or in these 75 years, because we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, means we got independence 75 years, previous 75 years later. So in these years, luckily, never our country faced, in spite of these many problems today we are facing, like corona and lockdowns and all, but luckily our government managing our finances very well. That's why never financial emergency was imposed so far. But in case if financial emergency imposed, what happens? The salaries of the employees will be cut short, in the sense that they'll reduce some benefits, some allowances, including the salaries of the judges, High Court, Supreme Court judges. Generally, we don't touch their salaries, but during the financial emergency, because their salaries are taken from consolidated fund, we never touch them. But during the financial emergency, there will be cut even in their salaries, and every state, their financial bills must send to the a consideration of president during financial emergency. That is about the. So these are the powers and functions of president. Normal functions such as like executive, legislature, judiciary, those powers. Apart from that, emergency powers, Article 352, 356 and 360, that is financial emergency. So these are the powers and functions of the president, or the first citizen of our country, and the main political executive of our nation, who is the symbol of our country, who is the impartial leader, I would say, impartial post of our country. He do not belongs to any political party during his tenure, even after retirement also. Of course, his salaries and all keep changing. So therefore, I am not touching the salaries. But one thing I just want to tell you, that is, though president is elected, in case, because in our country we have one rule, no, that all are equal before the law. In case if you involve in any corruption, any misconduct, or what we call it as any kind of mostly corruption and all, at the time we can remove him. The process is known as impeachment. The removal process of President of India is known as impeachment. So that will be done by the Parliament of India. Parliament, majority people, if they accept for that motion, impeachment motion, then he will be removed. But here also, for this also, we are so happy, but all our presidents, they completed successfully all their terms. Some of the presidents, they have done 2 times, from the Babu Rajendra Prasad till today, our president. They were all very efficiently, they are working. Then another important, executive post in our country, in union government, is vice president. Vice president, regarding vice president, Article 63 speaks about him. Vice President of India is also elected by Electoral College, but this Electoral College in this year, state assemblies will not take part. Only Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha elects the President of India through single transferable vote system, and anybody can contest for the post of president. So the person who is contesting for the post of president, he should complete the age of 30 years. His age should be 30 years and a term will be 5 years only. And what are his powers and functions? If you see, majorly he has only two functions. Two functions. One is he acts as the chairman for Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha chairman is the Vice President of India. And the second one is that he acts as the president in the absence of the president. Maybe when president went to other countries for any official trip, or when he is not well, or I told just now, when he was removed, in such kind of situations, he will continue as the president. Okay, so these are the two important functions. Works as the chairman, Rajya Sabha, and because his age also, you'd see 30 years. Rajya Sabha members, if anybody want to contest for Rajya Sabha, they must complete the age of 30 years. Like that, he also should complete. He has to fulfill all the Rajya Sabha members' qualifications. Okay, and act as the president. That is about the president. So we have completed that. Then let us see the most important like a position in our country. Of course, president is the most important also, but we follow parliamentary form of government. In our parliamentary form of government, the real head of the state, or the real executive of the country is the Prime Minister. What regarding Prime Minister, in our Constitution, Article 75 speaks like this, that President appoint Prime Minister and the other ministers in order to discharge like various duties of his. What the President is supposed to do, that are given to them. So here we get a point called delegation of authority. You all studied in your first year. So we have various principles of administration. So delegation of authority is one among them. No? So here the delegation. President delegates some of almost all his powers to Prime Minister. So let us see what is Prime Minister. Actually, Prime Minister is a member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Right now, our Prime Minister is a member in Lok Sabha.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Page number, ma'am.
What do you want?
Page number.
Just refer ma page number. You want me to tell you the page number?
G.
Yeah, just wait. 1 second. 1 second.
Okay. You can go to the index and the contents. You can find the page number there. Please do not interrupt in between the class so that the madam continues. At the end, you can ask questions if you have any. You go through the book. You'll find the contents and you'll have the all the headings and all in the textbook. Ma'am, you please continue.
Yeah. That's fine. Hope you got it. Ma'am, you please verify the index and go through this one, block 2. This is block 2. Yeah. So we were discussing about the Prime Minister of India. So how Prime Minister is appointed, also I've been telling you, he is just like any Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha member. So the present Prime Minister is a member in Lok Sabha. When we see our previous Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh and all, they were members in Rajya Sabha. So generally people believe that it will be good if a Prime Minister come from Lok Sabha only. So that has been followed. One of our Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, when she was appointed, suddenly after the death of, at that time, Tashkent, our previous Prime Minister, and she was a member in Rajya Sabha, but still she resigned to that post and elected to Lok Sabha. That is one example we now and then take. To be, because he must be a leader's, people's house, he should be there. That's what we believe in. But anyhow, the Prime Minister appointment is just like any other Lok Sabha member. He is a majority party leader of Lok Sabha. all his salaries and allowances are all determined by the parliament. Okay. Then he is the real executive of our country, I told you, no? So as a real executive, all the powers and functions of the president will be exercised or enjoyed by him. Now I'm going to talk to you about his powers. So first of all, he is a leader of Council of Ministers. That's why we call him as first among his equals. They're all equal only. Ministers, how Prime Minister is elected, other ministers also elected directly by the people from various constituencies in our country. But he has more powers. That's what our constitution has given him. So he is the leader for all the members of the Council of Ministers. He heads the Council of Ministers, and he, on his advice, the president appoint members as the ministers, the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha members as the ministers. And no minister should meet president without informing Prime Minister, because Prime Minister is the main channel or a bridge between the ministers and the president. How his governance is going on, how the administration is going on, he has to inform to the president once in a week or once in fortnight, that is once in 15 days. He will meet president and explain to him. Okay, or in between, if any minister wanted to meet directly the president, they have to take the consent of the Prime Minister. So to be frank, generally, no minister will meet directly the president. Only the Prime Minister conveys and get the information and give to the people also, ministers also. Okay, so therefore, he is the leader of cabinet, and on his advice, Prime Minister appoint all the ministers. And as long as Prime Minister has pleasure in a minister, the ministers will continue. Means without Prime Minister's consent or its pleasure, no person can continue as a minister. Maybe if they are working, if they work very well, it may continue. They may continue. If you feel that the ministers are not working well and all, then at any time he can suggest the person to resign, or he can suggest the like a president to remove them also. So therefore, all the ministers are under the control of the president, Prime Minister, and he is also a coordinator, because here I have given you different names of the various ministers and Defense Minister, Home Minister, Human Resource Minister, Foreign Affairs, Finance, and like that we have railways. We have various ministers. They're all running the administration. There should be coordination between each department or each ministry, no? So that coordination will be taken care by the, Prime Minister. So, and one more, that is one thing for the ministers related thing. And related to the president, again, he is the main advisor to the President of India. Every decision, whatever decision the government is taking, or the president on his name it is going on, it will be taken from the Prime Minister only. So therefore, he is the main advisor to the President of India, and all the powers and functions of President of India is enjoyed or exercised by the Prime Minister. That's why in our country, we call Prime Minister as a king without crown. He is almost like a king without crown. You might have seen in our country context, that we generally speak about our Prime Minister. When the parliamentary meetings are going on, wherever it is, we expect things like words from him only, because he is the real executive of our country. On behalf of President, he is discharging everything. Okay, so that is the about Prime Minister. I can say to many things about Prime Minister, but not required right now. So, but one thing, keep in mind, Prime Minister is the real executive or real head of the nation today. He exercises all the executive powers given to President by the Constitution, delegated to him. He exercises, and he is the coordinator of all the ministers. No minister appointed without the advice of the Prime Minister. With the Prime Minister's advice only, President appoints the minister, and no minister should meet directly President without taking the consent from Prime Minister. Okay, so that is about the Prime Minister of India. Then we are moving on to another important body, which is really working the administrative functions. That is nothing but the Council of Ministers or Union Council of Ministers. So somehow one slide is not found, but you please verify. There you can see, after completing Prime Minister, I have started Council of Ministers. So there is one policy, or what say, one system we are following, that is 1 by 10 or 10% of the total number of parliament should be the number of ministers. Our minister strength will be 10% of the total number of parliament. See, in parliament we have 545, in Lok Sabha 215, Rajya Sabha put together nearly 800 we have. Okay, so it should not cross, the total strength of the Council of Ministry should not cross 10% of the total number of our parliament. Okay, so that's why today we have nearly 80, maximum 83, like that members ministers are there. So all these ministers are divided into 3 different categories. They are, first one is known as cabinet ministers, and second category of ministers are known as state ministers, and the third one is known as deputy ministers. First one, cabinet, second one, state ministers, and the third one, deputy ministers. Okay, so what is the difference between these ministers? Means cabinet ministers means they are very close circle of the Prime Minister, and they are very limited. So important departments are important activities like home affairs, human resource, finance, like all these people who are running this department are known as the cabinet. Okay, so they are independent, and they will have frequent meetings with the Prime Minister. It's a close circle. That's what the actual main members, they are in the ministry. Okay, they are the cabinet ministers, and a little allowances or some other things will be little high only when compared to deputy ministers and some other privileges will be there for them. And whereas the second one is state ministers. State ministers are the ministers who hold a small ministries, tourism, these kind of ministries who are holding or who are performing portfolios, they are known as state ministers. And deputy ministers are some of these people, they help the cabinet ministers. Some of the ministries, for example, Home Ministry, Finance Ministry, and Deputy Ministry, these people, they have what we call 3 ministers put together. Say, for example, Home Minister, we will have Cabinet Minister, Home Ministry, Home Affairs Ministry will consisting of 3 ministers. One cabinet will be there, one state minister will be there, and one deputy minister also will be there. But whereas for small departments, they don't require tourism and all I told you, for such kind of ministry, One minister will be there, and his cadre is known as state minister. We'll call state ministers here in the sense, not the provinces ministers. State minister means the ministers in the union government who hold small departments. Okay, and we also have deputy ministers. I said they are the helping the cabinet mainly during the time of parliamentary meetings and all. They help them. Okay, so they are the three different ministers in the Council of Ministers of our government, in the union government. Then, how these ministers are all working? They work mainly with three important principles. The first principle is they work collectively. I hope you all know what is meant by collective. Collective means as a team, just like it's like a team they work. So you might have seen our cricket team and all, how they work. So they discuss among themselves and they work. No, they don't reveal their things, others like that. So collectively, and moreover, one more thing is for the success or for failure, they are responsible. Collectively, they take the responsibility. See, if one minister do well, when people appreciate it, they all will share it. Collectively, they take. Suddenly, some problem has taken place in one department. For that also, everybody has to take their government, like that they'll call. No, so that's why we call it as a collective responsibility. By the way, they also have individual responsibility when they go to parliament, because they are controlled by the legislature. No, so if a legislature asks any question, individually, who is the in charge of that various that particular portfolio, that particular ministry, he has to give individual responsibility. Okay, so they work individually as well as collectively, but they work mainly, what we say is collective responsibility they take up in the parliament or in the lower house mainly. I forgot to tell you, in this connection, I have to tell you one thing. Say, for example, we have bills, public bill, private bill and all. If one minister introduces a bill, when bills are introduced by the ministers, we call it as public bill. If the public bill is not passed, the whole ministry has to resign. The whole government has to resign. Ministry is in the sense, cabinet minister, all these three category ministers have to resign. Say, for example, one minister cannot say that, why should I resign? Because it was introduced by finance minister. Lok Sabha didn't accept it, or it failed in Lok Sabha. Why I have to resign? I need not. In that way, they cannot say. Collective responsibility means that. So the failure or the success, equally they will share. Okay, that is one thing. Then the second one is that for all of them, their leader is Prime Minister. They are working under the control or under the supervision or under the guidance of their Prime Minister. That is also one of the principles. They have to follow the guidelines of the Prime Minister. And another important thing is, in our country, mostly in parliamentary form of government, Council of Ministry follows homogeneity. Homogeneity means what? All the ministers belongs to same political party. From same political party or same alliance, sometimes coalition governments will take place. In the coalition time, so who are all their alliances? For them, they can give. But right now, present government is their own, like only BJP-led party form the government, no? Because they have majority seats and all. So it is not a coalition. So only that particular party people only will become the ministers. That is one thing. Whereas in some nations, for example, in US, presidential form of government they follow, there it is not like that. The president has power to choose his ministers, means there they don't call ministers also, secretaries they'll call. His ministers or secretary, let me use the word minister only here for our understanding. Their ministers, he can take even from opposition party, the party who lost. If you remember, last time Obama became the prime minister, president for their country, he appointed Hillary Clinton as one of his secretary. But she contested against him from another Republican party, and he's a Democratic party. But in other nations like that, but in our country, it's not like that. Ours is a parliamentary form of government. Therefore, in our parliamentary form of government, homogeneity is maintained in the Council of Ministry and secrecy. Another important principle is secrecy. Whatever decisions they take, they should not reveal outside. That is the most important thing. That within them, they can have so many what we call arguments, contradictions, conflicts within that, within their group. Once they come out, they should not criticize one another. They have to support outside. And moreover, they must maintain secret issues should not be revealed. Of course, we have a right to Information Act and all. Certain administrative things will not come under that act. That's how ministry, they maintain secrecy. These are the main principles the Council of Ministry maintains or follows. Okay. Then, what are the functions of the Council of Ministry? As you all know that all the functions of our country today, how many activities are going on, they are all carried by the Council of Ministry only. Say, from maintenance of law and order onwards, you all know Home Ministry. Internal law and order issues will be taken care by Home Ministry. Okay, and not only maintains law and order, they protect our country. It is the duty of the Council of Ministry to protect our nation. So how they maintain it? With the department is, the ministry is defense. So Defense Ministry protects our country from external aggressions, or during the time of war and all, they have to protect our country. And we have external. Today, no country can, run on their own. Being isolation, we can't achieve anything. So we need to maintain good relations with our neighboring and other nations in the world. So that's why we have Foreign Affairs Ministry. So Foreign Affairs Ministry maintains good relations. Means here, the one of the function of ministry is maintain good relations with other countries. Okay, and policy formulation. So one of the important duty in governance is that any administration without policy, they need to have so many policies. So various policies will be formulated by them. So education policy might be, okay, industries policies. Okay, of these kind of policies, they will be for a new education policy. Very recently, government has taken, and we are about to implement in all the states. They have given within 10 years time, before 2030, almost all the states have to implement this. And this is one of the policy what government has taken. Okay, so various policies they will take, and they also see that policies will be implemented, because we all know that executive main duty is implementation. So they implement, they formulate the policies and they implement. Laws are differ from policies. Here you have to understand that. So they formulate policies, means guidelines, mostly guidelines to run one affair, maybe education affair, health issues, health policy, like that will be there. So that will be formulated by the ministers. Okay, that is one thing. And another one is that mainly these days, welfare and development. Welfare and development activities also they will take care. So development is become a buzzword for these days, no? So they have to see what are the schemes, developmental schemes required for the people to implement in the nation in order to uplift the poor or in order to uplift various sectors and all, no, they take up various developmental programs or policies. They implement it. And also welfare means, just now I told you, sorry, development, I think I confused and I confusing you people. Development is infrastructure development and all. And welfare means well-being of the people, like as I told you, for the weaker sections, SCs and STs, women, children, youth, for their development, for their well-being, the government or the ministries will take up various actions. That is another important. And finally, another important duty of the disaster management. Most important function of these days, because we all see that. So very recently we had a disaster. This is a pandemic. Okay, like that, natural disasters we have, floods, earthquakes, and famines. These kind of things. When it comes to, it is the duty of the ministry to take care of them and to protect the people from various whatever I say, disasters. Okay, so these are all the functions of executive. So finally, what I want to tell you is that in our country, India, union government consisting various important executives. Among them, first we discussed about President of India. Who is he? How he can be elected? I told you he is the first citizen of our nation. Any person in this country can contest as the president, I said. So that election will be conducted. The people who elects the president is because in our country we elect president indirectly. Okay, and indirectly it is elected by Electoral College, which consisting of MPs of both the houses of parliament and MLAs of all the states in the country. They are known as Electoral College. They elect the President of India. And I explained to you about his functions, ordinary functions and emergency functions. Under ordinary functions, we discussed about his executive powers, any action in our country administration, everything will be taken on his name. That's what I said. Then legislative functions, judiciary functions, okay, and those are the finance functions we discussed. And after that, I also explained his emergency, extraordinary powers under Article 352, 356, and 316. Emergency powers, national emergency, presidential rule, as well as financial emergency. These are the functions they perform. He performs, though he is considered as a nominal head, but during the emergencies, he is a real head for the country, I said. Then we also discussed about the vice president. Vice president is the second citizen of our country. He has two main functions. He acts as the chairman for Rajya Sabha, and in the absence of president, he acts as the president in the absence of president. Okay, so those are his thing. And afterwards, I explained to the most important position in the executive, that is about the prime minister. So prime minister is considered to be the first among his equals. Okay, because major real executive, he is the real executive for our country. So prime ministerial government, parliamentary government, also known as prime ministerial government. That is what we discussed. All his he appoints ministers. No minister should meet the president without his consent. These things I told you. Then afterwards, I spoke to you about ministries, or rather by Council of Ministers, which consisting of 3 different categories: cabinet, state ministers, and deputy ministers. And how they work also, I told you, principles, collective responsibility, individual responsibility. They work under the leadership of the Prime Minister, and homogeneity they maintain while appointing the Prime Ministers, and all the ministers must maintain secrecy regarding their official meeting, official decisions and all, I told you. And the real, functions of this country, major administrative works are all conducted by ministers only. I explained to you, they maintain law and order, they protect our country from external aggressions, then they look after what we call a disaster management, I told you, during any kind of havocs, calamities time. It is their responsibility to rescue and provide rehabilitation facilities to the people, I told you. Development, they have to take care. Then welfare of the people. For that, they will introduce various schemes and policies in the country. Okay, these are all I explained to you. So anything else in this unit, this is what we have. With this, we have come to the end of this unit 5 in the block 2. In the next class, I think we are going to take up another one. So next Saturday and Sunday, both the days, I'll come again and I'll explain the rest of the things to you. Pallavi ma'am, you are there? Anybody has any doubts? Can I close the class? Shall I end the class? It's over. If you don't have any doubts, I'll wind up the class. If you have doubts, you are free to ask. Anybody would like to speak anything, or anybody would like to ask any question? Yeah, many were here. So for today, the class is done. If you want, if you have any doubts, I can explain to you. Otherwise, I'll wind up the class. Okay? Shall I? Anyone unmute yourself and tell me? Doesn't look good if I abruptly stop.